Hello, 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 world. Well, I was actually asked to do this specific training. Um, a previous client actually reached out to me and asked me a little bit more information about memories and energy. And so I thought, why not? Why not? Let's have a little chat about it. Memory and energy. Everything is based around energy. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. And the really interesting thing about this is that memories are an energy, right? Now, the greatest way to break this down is everyone understands what an acupuncturist is, right? Put your hand up if you don't understand what an acupuncturist is. If you've never been to one, what they do is they use all the pressure points in your body on the ancient Chinese meridian, and they get these big long ass needles about this long, and then you'll go in there and you'll tell them what's wrong with you, where you feel sore, tight. Oh, I can't move my neck. I've been stuck like this for a few days and I can't deal with it. And they'll go and put pressure points, these needles into your pressure points, but it'll probably be somewhere in your lower back or in your legs, in your feet, and the person getting it will go, "What are you doing? My pain's up here." Yeah, I know, but the blockage is down here. So pressure points, those pressure points in our body, they are all associated to different energies, right? And all those energies are associated to different memories. And all those memories are associated to different thoughts. And all those different thoughts are associated to different feelings. So the whole premise is feelings. Everything is a feeling. Okay. And so when they put the needle in, you'll feel it, you'll even see it wiggle, right? It'll wiggle like that. Wiggle. And that's the energy unblocking in that pressure point. Now, how is that associated to memories? Well, everything that you think about is associated to memories. So anything after this last second is now classified as a memory, right? Because only anything is happening in the present. So, yeah, so time is an illusion. We can't go back in time and listen to the last sentence I just said unless we watch it on the recording, right? So, so I really wanted to do this workshop for one, I needed to go back into my flow. I needed to be back in my power and really talk about the things that I really love and really enjoy. So, I mean, when people talk about, jumping into the quantum field and going into the fourth and fifth dimension and all of that type of activity, and that there's parallel universes going on at the same time, and there's no such thing as time, it's because they're talking about different identities that are associated to actually doing the things that are actually happening now in an energetic frequency. So that energetic frequency is happening now, and you can shift that at any point, at any time. And it's all about being associated to being present. Now, where the memory factor comes in is that we all have these limiting beliefs, right? These bloody limiting beliefs, which aren't really, they aren't really a limiting belief. They are feelings and associations to memories, right? So the thing about the thing about trauma is an interesting one for you. The thing about trauma is it's not about what happened in the event, it's about how it made you feel. Now, because everything is energy, how we feel, the feelings is the energy. Where the memory comes associated to the energy is that your memories are holding on to a particular feeling, right? Which is the feeling, which is the energy. This is why the power of your personal story is the most fundamental aspect of your empowerment, of your shifting identities, of your ability to find the doors that have been shut inside your corridor of life, inside your memories, because that's what we do. We shut doors on things that we don't allow to heal, right? We hold on to them. And most of the time, the reason why we're holding on to them is associated to not being able to go through the grieving process with them to get to the place of release, surrender. So when you see people like Eckhart Tolle talking about being in the present moment, that's what it's all about. And even Dr. Joe Dispenza is always talking about, you've got to redesign a vision of the future and make that vision of the future more powerful feeling than the aspects of the past, right? Which is all memory, right? And these memories are stored in your subconscious, in your mind, in your body, actually. So we hold trauma in the body, and that's why an acupuncturist, which let me also add about an acupuncturist is so about 15 years ago, thereabouts, somewhere around there, about 15 years ago, in Australia anyway, and certain other parts of the world, but it was classified as a medical procedure. So you could actually get insurance, like health insurance, which would cover acupuncture because it was classified as a medical procedure, right? So this is a system that's been utilized for thousands of years, right? And only in the last 15 years has it been recognized as something that is medical. Okay. So it is real, it does work, it does exist, and it is all associated to energy. just like a kinesiologist is stress relieving energy based upon previous experiences of your memory that's stored in the body, which is holding the trauma of what it is that you aren't willing to surrender, to let go, to forgive, because most of the time it's about forgiving, right? Because we have a resentment. I was talking about this with one of my one-on-one clients, and resentment is the aspect of wanting the other person to feel your pain, right? But the thing is, they don't feel your pain, and they most of the times they don't care that you're in pain. There's a small amount, there's a whole bunch of empaths like myself. I'm an empath, I'm an old soul that's come to this world and has gone through massive amount of trauma in this lifetime. And the reason why I teach people about their story is because the power of story is the empowerment of yourself to get into a higher vibration of who you are. Because unless you fall in love with who you are, and you can go to all the retreats in the world and all the healers in the world, and they'll tell you the same thing, you have to actually self-accept and self-love yourself to the highest epitome of what is possible, which is 100%, to be able to get into that spiritual realm and higher dimensions and so on and so forth, right? So it's all about acceptance of everything that's actually taken place. And if you look at the 5 stages of grief, which is anger and depression and bargaining, those aspects are real and really important stages to actually allow yourself to go through. So a lot of the time, people will try and bypass it and shut it down and compartmentalize it and put it in a box and what I call it, put it behind a door, right? In your corridor of life. So when you do that, it doesn't go away. You're not actually processing it. You're not allowing it to truly feel through you, to heal you, because the healing is in the feeling. You have to heal these things by feeling them So you will get upset, you will cry, you'll get angry, you want to bargain. Like a good friend of mine and client just lost their 2-year-old nephew. Um, Massive, right? Just a freak accident. Really, really sad. But he has to now go through this deep grieving process, right? And we all go through these bargaining aspects, this anger, this bargaining, this denial, right? Until we can get to a place of acceptance, because that starts the healing journey, right? And that healing journey is the 5 steps, which is the first you acknowledge it. So to truly start the grieving process, you have to acknowledge that it's happened, it's taken place, you're part of it. You have to process it, and then you'll go through those 5 grieving steps of the anger and the bargaining and the depression, and then you'll finally come to a place of acceptance, and then that starts the real healing, which is going through forgiving, which is the next step, right? And that forgiving is the hardest part for a lot of people. So what they'll try and do is jump straight into the healing aspect, and the healing aspect is, again, it's about coming back into the present and really seeing the gift and the blessings of who you are and all circumstances that have happened in your life, and that they're there to make you bigger and stronger. And as much as love tears our heart, um, if we allow it, because we can put walls around our heart and not allow the tear to heal, right? We can sit in suffering because of it. And that's, again, that's part of the healing grieving process of really allowing yourself to be in a place where you feel these emotions, you go through those aspects of bargaining. And I've been through this just recently over the last few months. So, I was engaged in January, and anyway, that ended, and I had to go through the whole grieving process. I went through the anger, and I went through the denial, and I went through the bargaining. And the bargaining stage can last for a lifetime. It can last a lifetime if you aren't diligent enough to put a stop to it. And this is part of where this memory can really affect your energy in the long term. So anything that happened to you as a kid, maybe you were sexually assaulted or you were bullied, or in my case, I've had both, so I can talk about these things. Um, Maybe you went through a breakup. You had kids, and you went when you were young, and you had a massive breakup, and then all of a sudden you didn't see your kids, and there was parental alienation, and a crushing, dominating force upon you and crushing your soul. And again, I can talk about this because I've been through that. It's it's these elements that the reason why we go through, if you really want to talk about it, we get, past lives and the karma that we've built up from past lives, and in this life we become this old soul that we experience a whole lifetime of karma upon us, and we sit in places of, because your pain is your purpose, right? And this is the very aspect of being a visionary leader, and being so in touch to your empathetic nature that most of the time you're an introvert, and as a kid, as growing up, you're probably a loner. You didn't feel like you fit in with the kids at the time. That was me, and you thought differently, right? I actually hung around the adults a lot more than I did the kids, for 2 reasons. One, I enjoyed the conversations, and two, I didn't get bullied because I suffered a lot of bullying as a kid, right up until the age of 15, until I made that decision that this was going to stop and it wasn't going to happen again. And for the most part, it was associated to my weight. Not that I was unhealthy, I was very healthy, extremely healthy child. My family were big health freaks in that respect. But when I was a kid, a Polish background, there's a lot of carbs in the diet, and as an O blood type, my metabolism slows down a lot with a lot of carbs, and I put on weight, right? So I was eating extremely good food, just too much pasta, too many, too many breads, too many things that were slowing my metabolism down, which made me big. Um, and because I was bullied so much, I didn't do a lot of exercise either. So I wasn't burning it off. I was doing kid stuff and here and there and stuff like that, but I was a bit of a loner, purely because I felt like the black sheep and that I didn't fit in, and I tried to fit in. And, it wasn't until I got into the film and entertainment industry in my teens, in my mid-teens, by accident, if you will, and spent, 30 years in that industry, that I found my people because they were conscious. So many people are conscious creators in that realm, right? They're always looking for something else, and how to change the perception of people's thought processes, to look at life differently, and why things happen in the world that it does, right? Because when we talk about magnetism, because this is part of, magnetism is part of this aspect too, the memory and the energy, right? So there's this aspect of magnetism which is positive and negative, and the balance in the world is positive and negative. So we always have to have negative in the world so we can see the composition of what the positive is in the world. So our lives, as an old soul, you've probably traveled, and part of the reason why you're here is to raise the consciousness of the world, right? Even though fame freaks you out, being on video freaks you out, being on stages possibly freaks you out, or maybe you've done it a lot, but you don't feel like you're being completely authentic. You're not speaking from your heart and soul. So these aspects here are all associated to memory, which is going to affect your energy. And why? Why does memory affect your energy? Well, like I said, if the body stores the trauma, if the body stores the energy, then there is a thought process, which is the belief, right? It's that belief associated to yourself about what you perceive as the perception of what this memory means to you, which then affects your energy. So going into a high vibration of acceptance, willingness, um, love, joy, and peace. You have to be at love, joy, and peace with your memories, with all your stories, with all your circumstances in life, and understand that your greatest pains are the greatest purpose for the world to raise their consciousness. Now, here's a kicker. If you don't share your wisdom of your memories and the things that you've actually gone through and risen above and brought peace to, and you don't share that with the world, you even if you're not in that realm of wanting to make that impact as a leader of sorts, as a healer, as a coach, then you'll be impacting your family, right? So we change the consciousness of the world by being the change that we wish to see in the world. That's how we raise the frequency and the vibration. So the way that we view ourselves through the thought of the memories, which is our stories, our internal stories, the things that we hold on. Now, here's the really interesting part. Because a memory is a perception, right? So you can have an event, an extraordinary event that happened in your life, some sort of traumatic event, and five people witnessed that moment, right? there'll be five different perceptions of what that moment means to that person. You'll have a book read by 8 billion people in the world, and everyone will have a different perception about what it means for them. Okay? Which then affects your energy. And if everything in the world, if everything that is made up around us, the camera, the microphone, board, everything, the lights, if everything, the body, all of our cells is made up of a positive and a negative, which everything is, all the atoms, all of it is made up of a positive and negative and runs as a terminal, like a battery, right? Right. And it's got a frequency. It's got a certain frequency. If everything is a positive and a negative, then there are only two choices to choose from. There's a positive choice or a negative choice. So the way that we view our memories is either going to be positive or a negative, which will then raise your frequency or lower your frequency. So getting to a place of true acceptance, true self-love, is all based upon how we view the memories. I'm going to repeat that again. The way that we get to full self-acceptance and full self-love through the aspects of healing is always going to come back to how we view our memory and all the events and circumstances that took place in this lifetime. Have we resolved them? Have we surrendered to them? Like, you've got to release before you can surrender. You got to release it. And that's part of the 5 steps. So like I was saying, you go through that grieving process, you go through those steps of grieving, and then you come finally to acceptance, which is part of the acknowledgement, and then acceptance and forgiveness. And then there's the healing part, where we're just allowing it to process out of us. We're allowing any of the past regrets or anything to be associated to it, to turn it into a positive, right? So as Tony Robbins is always saying, life is happening for us, not to us. So we're always rising above whatever it is that we need to rise above. We always having circumstances in our life happen to us to make us aware of something, to change or amplify. And when I say change, that might be negative circumstances. So one of the aspects as an old soul is that you will have, you'll be in relationships that are kind of, narcissistic. You'll have these traumatic relationships, and you might meet your soulmate, and you might also outgrow that soulmate as well. That's been part of my circumstance. There's been a couple of big relationships that I've had that were trauma relationships, turned into trauma bonding relationships. Um, and and the really interesting part is that you can make that decision because it's making you really clear about how much because we're givers, right? Old souls, we're givers. We give our time, we give our energy, we give to other people, we think about their problems, we worry about them. And it's about really being clear about our own boundaries, not in front of us, right? We want to be in flow. So we're always looking at our life as a river in flow straight ahead, and the boundaries are on the side. So we put people on the sides of our boundaries and go, these things are important for me now, to focus on me, to be able to move me forward to greater impact, to more visibility, to more fame, to more wealth, to more purpose. And I need to let things go. Right, let things go. So once you go through that healing process of shifting, because the healing process is shifting the perspective of what the actual memory means to you in that perspective. right? Because if you still think of damaging thoughts, survival aspects to a memory that you're processing and allowing it to release, then you're releasing it into a lower vibration, which is still connected to you, and you're not living to your highest potential, right? So all things are happening for us. So any big things that have happened to us in our lives, that happen for us to evolve us as a wiser soul, as a more understanding and more empathetic person, so we can then be really clear about our boundaries, about what it is that we truly desire to have into our life. Cool. So these limiting beliefs, well, actually all the time, and this is what we do in my program. We actually go through all of this. We follow all the memories, all the stories in our life, our personal story, right? So we can emotionally master ourselves, because memory is associated to what? Energy. What is energy? Feelings. What are feelings? Well, these were emotions that were happening at the particular time, and then we created a perspective of what that event meant to us, which then locked in a feeling to this memory, which then creates that belief of what we believe about it, in that perception of what we think it holds for us, rather than letting it go, knowing that it was a beautiful thing that actually happened to us to evolve us to be able to make more impact in the world by sharing these particular stories, because it's your story that is the most quintessential part. I mean, any coach, any speaker, any visionary leader knows that you want to amplify your impact, then you really need to share your story, because especially in today's day and age, and I was doing an event with Eli Wild the last couple of days, who's a beautiful man. And what is the whole basis of, he's teaching sales strategy and something else, but what does it all come back to? It comes back to story. What do they all talk about? You got to know your story. You've got to be able to know how to utilize your body, how to utilize the energy in your story, how to be authentic, how to be here for the real reason of why you're here. That's the most important, your why. Simon Sinek wrote a book on it, right? What's your why? What's my why? To help people connect back to their hearts, fall back in love with themselves, utilize their stories so they can create more impact in the world, so they can live in a beautiful, loving place of themselves. And trust me on this. Boy, have I been through a doozy over the last few months. A doozy. I really had to grieve. I got trapped in that bargaining stage for a while. And and it's very much like a divorce, because there's a whole bunch of kids involved, right? So it's a 4.5 year relationship with 6 kids involved, and you you go through a breakup, and it's not just a breakup between the relationship, it's a breakup of families, right? And you're basically going through a divorce without any legal apparatus to it, right? There's no legal grounds that you've got, there's no negotiation of what can take place. It's just cut off. Right? And it can be quite emotionally draining, which is what I've been going through. It's part of the grieving process. But I've had to go through it. I've had to feel that process. I've had to allow myself to hibernate and isolate and rebirth myself as the person of who I am, my identity. And here's the other aspect, right? There's a lot of magnetism experts will talk about, there's 2 identities, right? Which is your past identity, and this is all associated to your memory. There's your current reality, right? And then there's your future reality or identity, your future ID, your current reality ID, right? And your future identity. And the trick here, right? The trick, the trick of this is releasing yourself from the past memories and the negative experiences that took place, change the perspectives in it to then shift what it actually means for you to bring it love, peace, joy, right? Love, peace, joy. It's just like that 4.5 year relationship, love, peace, joy, is actually some of the best years of my life. The last 8 years or 7.5 years have been some of the best years of my life. Some of the most extraordinary things have happened to me. 7.5 years ago, I went through a divorce and it was very public and with another family, and it was very confrontational in the beginning. And some people are still confrontational about it. I let that shit go years ago. I've actually, I deliberately worked on a really good open communication with co-parenting, and that happened within 9 months. Considering that there was another man and another family and a school where all the kids were at school. So it was a whole community that all decided that they were going to have their opinions about what this memory means to them and their energy that they then project out into the world. So here's the really interesting aspect is that however you view your memories, which is your stories, however you view your past stories, is going to be associated to your past identity, right? To get into a current reality identity, which is what you are now, is coming to peace with who you are now. But then there's this acceleration to jump into the quantum field to accelerate your results by then being very clear about your future identity and then embodying this future identity into your current reality identity and operating as this future identity would in your present moment, like right now, which is what I'm doing right now, doing this video. And the reason why I wanted, again, the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I've been hiding myself. I've been hiding very much. I've led so many different leaders through their own stories, their own personal stories, how to show up in the world, how to shift their identity from their past identity, stepping into their new identity that they see in their 10-year vision and start embodying it. And it is a process. It's an embodiment that needs to take place. But once you see the fundamentals of how to shift the perspectives of these memories, it makes life a lot easier to implement the strategies, right? I have a 4-step system. It's so simple, it's so safe, it's so endearing and so much easier because one of the, my one of my private one-on-one clients, after he went through the process, he said, it was so much easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be so painful, but it wasn't. Because that's the space of the container that's being held. Because I've been through a lot of shit in my past, so I can hold a lot of everyone else's stuff because I know exactly what they've experienced in their past. I can empathize and hold that space because I know all the grievances, all the grief associated to it, all the traumas associated to it, how it implements certain things in our lives. Being bullied, and anyone of a different race understands what bullying is, right? They call it racism, but at the end of the day, it's bullying, right? It's bullying. Racism is just bullying. So someone that grew up as a fat kid and spending, 15 years of their life being bullied because of the way they looked. And when I say bullying, I mean mentally, emotionally, physically, beaten up, all of that kind of stuff. It has an effect on your self-worth and your self-esteem and how you view yourself. And that shit happens. And then you make decisions to shift that and change the trajectory of your life. And it's all comes down to making decisions, just like a decision on the memory. Once you make a decision about the perspective of what that memory actually means to you, it allows you to then go through the healing process and start embodying the love in it and bringing peace to it. And when we bring peace to the past identity, which is a process, it's all about forgiving at the end of the day, forgiving, letting go of the resentment, and shifting the perspective of what it means to you. What did you get from it? Because we all got something from it. It was all there to teach us something. And it's about you doing the work to see, well, why is that there? Am I not holding my boundaries strong enough? Am I not holding higher standards for myself? Am I not stepping forth in the values of what I perceive as my future identity self and holding them as the forefront of every step and action that I take in every moment and every day? Right? These are the questions you have to ask yourself to be able to break free. Now, again, when there's things that need to be grieved, right, which is associated to that past identity. And I'm not saying that you're never going to get sad, right? When you think about an experience or the loss of a family or a loss of a loved one, um, even loss of pets, right, which cause trauma in people as well because it's like family. And it's interesting because I know this really well. When I went through that divorce 7.5 years ago, over a 12-month period after the divorce, so during that next 12 months, I lost three dogs, all in tragic circumstances. Two of them were my own dogs, right? That had been with me for 12 and 13 years, almost 14 years, right? Which was part of the old identity of the family. Okay. And then my ex-wife's dog, who I was in care of, and it was a freak accident. Freak, like 1 in a million accident. Maybe it's a bit less than that, but got stung by a jellyfish in Irukandji on the tongue and had a cardiac arrest. And that was extraordinary. That was intense. So the grieving, I had to grieve each one of those dogs as well and bring it peace to it, right? And focus on the joy and the love that was actually nurtured there. So these limiting beliefs that we were talking about, where these memories, where a lot of people get stuck with these, or they have the same things being attracted to them, right, throughout their life, same kind of circumstances, and those circumstances, or those people, or those relationships, or the suffering, or um, career related, or the people that keep coming towards them, is associated to certain words and dialogues that you're actually saying, which is underneath these limiting beliefs. It's the actual inner dialogue, and this is where people get trapped with their identity and jumping into this current identity so they can forge into the future identity, right? Which is all again memory based. And what happens with events when we're kids between the ages of, most people say 0 to 7. Yep, that's true. But there are certain events that happen at up to the age of 10 as well, which is and even up to the age of 14, which really cements the subconscious belief of this dialogue that is inside of us. And it'll be a repetition of words, right? It's this recurring in a dialogue. And people will do all of this personal development, years of personal development, and they'll do all the Tony Robbins stuff, and they'll do whoever else, and they'll do Eckhart Tolle, and they're wondering, I seem to be stuck. I can't break through. Well, it's all story based. It's all about the events that happened in your memory, which is all the stories that we're telling ourselves. Okay. And these memories are what? Energy. So there's six behaviors, there's six responses of human behavior. Yeah. So the first one is the belief, right? The belief is that first step in the responses of human behavior. And then after that is feeling. So a lot of people will say that it's thought, but thought is actually the next one. Because the feeling creates the thought. The belief is that subconscious belief of, let's look at driving a car. You are trained to drive a car a certain way, and then you get to a point where you don't have to think about driving, like if it's a manual car and you're using the clutch, right? You don't have to think that, oh, I've got to push and then I've got to raise my foot up at a certain point and I've got to do that, right? And then hit the accelerator at the same time. Yeah, your body's in flow. It knows it back to front. It's a habit, right? What happens with these beliefs is that they create a feeling, which then comes into a thought, right? Which then turns into your speech. Because what do we all do? When we have a belief which triggers the feeling associated to the original belief, it gives us a thought process, which we then speak about, whether we're speaking silently to ourselves or we're speaking to people about it, right? Which then creates an action of some sort. Yep. And that action will then give us some sort of result, whether it's negative or positive. Yeah. So to change the result, you have to change the belief, which is the memory, the perception of the memory. Whether even if you were religious, if you were indoctrinated into religion, like I was baptized Catholic, right? So there's certain belief systems that I have from a young child that is going to give me a certain feeling straight away because there are certain beliefs that I had that give me a feeling and then the thought about it. And this is split second stuff, right? And this is why when people do a 10-year vision with me, which is part of the program, we go through a 10-year vision, we do a heart soul led vision. We're able to feel into a future identity. Okay. Because if you look at all manifestation, it's all about the feeling, the emotion, the feeling of the state. But you can't think about something without having a higher vibrating feeling first to be able to think something that's outside of the box, to be able to create something that's different, right? Einstein said that you can't solve a problem from the original energy that it was created from, along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. You have to be into a different energy outside of what caused the problem to get a result, to get a different result, to get a better result, right? And that starts with the feeling first. And then you're able to start creating a thought process around that feeling of how you feel about creating your vision. So you can then implement the the beliefs, the feelings, the thoughts of this future identity self, the actions, yeah, the speech associated to this future identity self, and bring it into your current reality and move with purpose towards creating that impact that you're truly desiring. How's that for a training? It just started with memory and energy. This is off the cuff. I didn't prep anything. I'm just going on the fly here. So I have no idea on Facebook if anyone's been watching this or anything like that. I don't care either. I just needed to get this out. I needed to talk. I can maybe have a look at, shall I have a look and see if anyone's commented anything? I don't think so. But the recording's there. Oh, I think there's a couple of people that have just given loves, but there's no oh, there's a couple of comments. Here we go. Oh, Deanna, I'm here. Powerful message. I know I'm going to learn a lot. Yeah. You have just learned a lot. I mean, this is part of the program. I mean, going into this quantum leadership aspect and becoming magnetic, truly understanding your stories to be able to be authentic, to be a high vibration, to create that impact in the world, to heal your own heart and become the future self, become that future identity that you're now implementing. Going and doing your workshops, going and doing your lives, going and doing your videos, going and doing your content, going and doing all of these things associated to a high vibration of who you actually are and what it is that you actually do. From the healed place, a high vibration place, healing these memories, healing these stories, shifting your energy into a higher vibration, and becoming a whole person in the present moment. Yeah. So I hope that was a big brain fart for you. And like I said, these limiting beliefs is actually, we call it the claim, right? It's the claim. The claim. I'm going to end with this because this is going to screw you up in a beautiful way. The claim is associated to those events that took place, right? So when we go back, we look at these memories, right? We look at these memories that have taken place, these little events that have taken place when we were kids, and we look at the feelings, how they made us feel. We look at what was being said, and we look at what things that you were thinking about, right? And when we look at a couple of up to three, we can keep going. Deeper you go into, here's another event, here's another event, here's another event. And we look at the patterns of the feelings, of the thoughts, and what other people were saying, right? We look at the patterns. And then we highlight those patterns that are repetitive, that keep coming up. And it's these things, it's the feeling of these words that are getting claimed by your subconscious as what this child, that current identity as a child is what they're starting to believe about themselves, right? Because that's what we do as children. We believe what people are projecting upon us. Here's the key word, projection. So those circumstances, those events, those memories, those little stories that were taking place when we were younger, people are projecting their thoughts, their feelings, their energy associated to their memories of what they think about themselves or their beliefs about a situation that you're involved in. And you're absorbing their energy, their memories, their beliefs, their thoughts, and their speech, and you're creating in what they categorize as ancestral trauma. So this claim had nothing to do with you. It was a projection of the environment that was taking place around you, and you claimed it as your own. That there is the perception shift that you need to actually start healing these memories about what you actually think about yourself in the claim, which then creates the limiting beliefs of what it is that you think about yourself. Because the limiting beliefs are just the labels, right? Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of hurting people, fear of not being enough, fear of not being loved, right? All these fears and rising above it. So the limiting beliefs are just the labels. It's the claim of the dialogue and the feelings that you've absorbed that your inner child is still processing because that's what it thinks about itself. But it's not yours. It was the projection of the people around you that you absorbed, claimed, and then decided to live your life like that. And when we do go through so I have a methodology which is the story extraction. And when everyone goes through the story extraction, and when we go through it, we look at the patterns throughout life, which then highlights the subconscious claim and the recurring events that took place, right? And what you're consciously creating, because there's a diverse difference in everyone. Consciously, you're creating the exact opposite of this original claim. The exact opposite. Everyone. I haven't taken a person through this that isn't this. Consciously, you're creating everything in your life that you want to feel in a future identity, right? But you have this memory connected to your past identity, part of the subconscious, which is making you feel a certain way, which is why you hear people that are doing all these incredible things in their life, all these achievements, but they don't feel successful. Because it's the memory of the claim, that is actually keeping them trapped. Because they don't realize that it's not theirs. That's the kicker. So I hope that was a great lesson, a great learning, and I hope you enjoyed that. Right. If you're a coach, visionary leader, an old soul, ready to create more impact and start doing the quantum leaps associated to all the past experiences in your life, then ask me about the journey. I'm going to do a masterclass, I think, in the next few days. Let's do one. So I'm opening up the container for the story extraction and taking people through. You want to create that more impact and you want to create that more income and you want to shift your whole identity, come and do the quantum identity shift and that'll change your life. And that's what all of this is about. Okay, bringing this future self into current space right now so you can create the abundance that you're truly searching for. Because once you shift the whole energy aspect, things start coming into you. You see the synchronicities in your life, everything starts changing because the universe has to catch up with what you've already demanded of what's happening and taking place right now. Success. clients, money, fame, fortune is happening now. And the universe will go, right, need to give it to you. That's how it works. So you can send me a DM through Messenger and go, hey, I'm curious about knowing a little bit more. And I can send you through a PDF about the structure and what will take place. Love to see you there. Anyway, that was a great training. I feel really good. Thanks for that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for absorbing. And Deanna, I'll have a look in the comments there, see if there's anything that you have a reflection on. Maybe you left already. Maybe she's left. It was a pretty long training. Oh, here you go. You're right. You have blown my mind. I love your teaching. Masterclass, great idea. Yes, thanks, Deanna. Well, I truly hope you enjoy it. I tell you what, while I'm just here, it'd be wonderful if you can go and see if you can give me a quick reflection. Type it in the comments. Give me a quick reflection of what was the greatest thing that you have just identified after listening to all of this. That'd be really wonderful. And while I'm waiting for that comment to come through, let's talk about other things. There's like, if anyone's watching this and you're feeling like you're blocked or you're stuck or whatever, and you just need a shift, let me know. I do 90-minute sessions, and they're if you know anyone that's been through them, you'll know how impactful they actually are in discovering what that story is actually holding you back. Because it's all, what is it? It's all memories. What are memories? Stories. What are the stories? The things you're telling yourself about yourself. All right. Which creates the what? The energy. What do we have to do? We have to get the needle and put it in the pressure point and release that damn shit. So that's part of the process. And look, I hold a very safe space. I get things done quickly, and we just move together fast. So if you're interested in shifting fast and you need to highlight something so you can keep going in the momentum that you've got in the world that you're creating, just send me a DM and just go, what shall we call it? We'll go quantum shift. Just DM quantum shift and I'll know what you're talking about. Just quickly see if Deanna has replied with anything. Not just yet. And we'll wait one more moment. We'll just see if she has any thoughts that she'd like to drop in. Otherwise, let's see. What else can I share? And I'd love to know if there's any questions or any comments. If you've watched this video and you're like, what? Or I'm confused, just put them in the comments and I'll answer them. And by the way, just want to also acknowledge myself and where I am and the love that I have for me and this new evolution of myself. One of the greatest things I've learned over the last, as an old soul that's been through so much, just like you, it's been through so much in your life, and you're ready to now, rather than sitting in the memory of it, actually create a movement out in the world with it, because you're ready for that quantum leap. And you might be going through a period of isolation, which is what I was currently going through. And over the last 8 years, I've been through a lot of moments of isolation, having to isolate myself as I quantum leapt, right? Quantum leapt into my coaching. And for most of the people that are on my page, you'll notice that my profile is only 2 years old, right? But I've been doing this for 6 years. And the reason why my profile is only 2 years old is because 2 years ago, someone stole an ID from a financial company that had a cyber attack. and got into all of my social media accounts and wiped me out completely. Even dropped down a terrorist image on one of my social media accounts, which then they got onto me going, "You've just posted this, you're completely banned." And it was like, what? That was that was that was certainly something to take on board. And it wasn't just the account that I lost. Like at that point, everything was monetized. Like I had so much content, so much video content out there. And I had marketing or advertising on all of my content. So I was making residual income off everything that put out into the world for over 4 years, thousands of people in my audience at that point. So it didn't just take away my presence, but it also took away a financial aspect as well. And it was quite huge. So it doesn't look like Deanna has any comments that I can actually reflect upon now. Um, Deanna, just if you are there, just let me know in the comments if you're still sending one. That would be really nice to know because I think you're still there. You're still sending one. That'd be really nice to know. Oh, hang on. There's. Oh, let me just turn that volume down. This is a lesson I need to ponder. My brain is healing. I need to absorb it. Yeah, don't blame you. Yep. I'm going to watch it again. Yeah, go right ahead. The memory and energy of our past can keep us stuck. Is that what I'm hearing? Absolutely. Yes, you changed my life 5 years ago. Yes, thank you. Deanna was actually one of my first clients back when I started coaching. So before I started coaching, I was mentoring for almost 12 months, mentoring people going through separation and grief and divorce. And I did that free of charge, just because I was learning my methodology of the things that I was implementing in my life and just holding space for people and that were just going through those circumstances. And yeah, when I became a coach and created that transmission, Deanna was one of my first clients. So it's beautiful to see you, Deanna, and it's always a pleasure to have you around. Um, oh, I've got Phillips. Hello. Oh, you're watching from Uganda. Oh man, you'll love this. Watch it from the start, Phillips, and you'll really enjoy it and learn a lot. So, again, thank you. It's been wonderful to be here and share my energy and my power and my wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the things that will shift you. Because the moment, I'll end on this, the moment you shift your perspective of any circumstance in your life and you put it into a positive, which is a powerful dynamic, into a positive aspect, and you bring peace, love, and joy to it, right? I actually was on a podcast and they asked me because I was explaining about the 5 steps of acknowledge, accept, forgiving, healing, and releasing, right? They were asking me, how do you know when you've released? And I said, well, you'll know you've released it when you can view that event from a place of joy. And you can actually talk about it from a place of joy is when you've truly released it. Because then you're able to reflect. And it's not about the gratitude. So we can have gratitude of an experience, but that means we're still in it. Yeah. It's when we then have the appreciation of the event is when we've actually moved on from it and it has increased our frequency and our wisdom and our ability to impact even more because now we can actually talk about it from a place of a healed space to be able to share our wisdom, not from still in a wounded place of still going, I'm still in the challenge, I'm still having gratitude, I'm still experiencing this, I still haven't shifted the memory, which will then keep you stuck. I thought I wrote stuck down, but I didn't. So that's how we shift into this future identity to bring it into our current identity by releasing everything from the past and living in the present moment. So we have an energetic frequency that is now and moving with the action steps to get the results that we choose, that we decide to have in our lives. And if you're a coach, a speaker, a visionary leader, and you want better results in your life, then you have to do the internal work so you can get your stories out there, so you can create a better impact, be more authentic, and live from your heart-centered space, so you can actually do those massive shifts in your program, so you can heal those people and shift from a wise aspect because you've now got the appreciation of all of yourself, the acceptance of self, the self-love at 100%. And that's how we create a higher consciousness in this world. Sending all my love. Take care.